This is verse 14, chapter 1. Dear child, you have for so long been bound by the rope of the illusion of imagining yourself as the body. Sever this bond with the sword of knowledge that you're actually pure consciousness and be happy. 15. As your true self, you're actually unattached, actionless, self-luminous, unmoved. Your only real bondage is that your attention is absorbed into an altered state. 16. You pervade this whole universe. It's woven in you. Your real true nature is pure consciousness. Don't get involved in small-mindedness. So Baba, in verse 14, Ashtabakra advocates to have a firm conviction, that we're not the body, that we're in fact pure consciousness, and because our mind is into imaginations, we're unable to know our true nature. Could you comment on that? Well, let me ask this, Baba. You say the sword of knowledge, that you're actually pure consciousness. What do you mean by the sword of knowledge?
Store, you mean?
Sword, the sword.
Sword of knowledge.
Yeah.
Symbolically, it is said that you slay the ignorance by the sword of knowledge. When you gain the proper knowledge, the ignorance disappears. So for that, so many examples in scriptures are given. Just like you are thinking it to be a snake, but when you realize it is only a rope. In the same way, here, consciously, perhaps every creature or human keep thinking that through the body they are undergoing all good and bad, happiness, unhappiness, suffering and everything. But consciousness has shifted to the body, coming in touch with the brain's reflections, firmly registering the brain's reflections as the true, whereas whatever the brain is giving need not be the true. It simply gives what it is. Means if there is an object, it reflects that object. Then through your mind, you try to name that object for your convenience and for your own communication. So all these things. Like for example, you come across a new planet. Then afterwards, you cannot keep communicating a new planet. You want to give a name. So you give a name. So that name is based purely on imagination, not necessarily that planet has to have that name as the truth. So like this, the consciousness shifting into imaginations has forgotten its true self and assumed the body as itself. Just like you are living in a house and you forget about yourself, start thinking that the house itself is you. You forget that you are inside the house. You are the dweller in the house. But instead of that, you start considering house as yourself. Anything that happens to the house, it appears as if it is happening to you. A good or a bad, a pain or agony or anything. So that is what Ashtavakra is trying to tell. Because of this consciousness shifting to the body so strongly, we all feel the pain. If anybody pricks, the pain is to the body, but it goes to the brain. That reflection is caught by the mind strongly, and the mind experiences. That's what Ashtavakra is trying to tell. Remove that consciousness shifting to the body. Realize what you are by carefully observing That observing what is, we all talk about meditation, a long practice. In meditation, in other words, if we try to see, we observe that the I, the consciousness is not connected to the body in any way. That is a fact. So, but we have to observe that for long time to realize that observing for long time is what is meditation. That's what the watching, observing is what? Watching. So then you can overcome that consciousness shifting. You go back to the real consciousness. Just like we bring back the consciousness from the screen where a movie is being projected. And then we realize we are just sitting and watching a movie. That is all.
Well, Baba, what has made us misidentify from this, the very beginning? We've misidentified ourselves, thinking ourselves as the body, and unaware that we're
Ignorance about our real self. Ignorance about our real self. We don't know what we are. Then we have identified ourselves into a wrong thing. Both places, ignorance has happened. So that's what has prevented us from knowing what we really are. Now, to gain that, we have to consistently observe. Oh, this is it. This is it. That observation is necessary. Otherwise, you see, the consciousness is observing whatever it is imagining. The mind is totally preoccupied with its imagination, what I keep telling. So that's why it is unable to observe what it is. So that's what has happened. Just like we are watching the screen and consistently we are observing only that movie, we are not observing that we are sitting and watching. So that sitting and watching has disappeared in our consciousness, and only the movie that is happening is there in our consciousness. So the ignorance has happened. That is what Ashtavakra is trying to explain. A student is always considered like our own child, just like a mother considers her child. The master so affectionately, to remove the ignorance, he talks, dear child, addressing the student, dear child. So this is what it is. Now you observe and you will know the truth to yourself.
So, Baba, then everyone is born has to have ignorance, otherwise, the-
Yeah, for a while perhaps, until you don't regain what you are. So there is that ignorance will be there. It's my opinion also. After the birth, in any physical body, any creature or a human or anything, until you don't regain that consciousness of your real self, this ignorance will be there about the self. You don't know who you are. Like that it goes on until you don't observe, until you don't watch.
uh, about watching, Baba, that's what the technique of meditation is, and by watching, then the mind eventually becomes quiet and goes back onto the self, onto the consciousness, rather than on what it's imagining. Um, that attention, there's a difference between attention, a subtle difference between attention and awareness. I was thinking about that this morning, and it's this in observing. When you're observing, you're just kind of watching and not thinking. And when you're paying attention, you're doing the same thing. You're holding your awareness on something, but it takes a little bit of effort of the mind to keep it present. But if you hold it there long enough, then gradually that effort doesn't take an effort any longer, and the attention just becomes that awareness.
Yeah, because first you pay attention. When you pay attention, you gain awareness. Without paying attention, you cannot gain awareness of what you are. Just like a group of people are standing, they photograph. You are also in there. So your focus has to go to your photo. Then you will realize, oh, you are also standing in that group. If it is the focus is not there, if the watching or observation is not there, you don't become aware that you are also in that group, in that photograph, in that group of people, like that. That is why the master first teaches watching. So you practice watching. Then as the master goes on explaining, awareness also comes. Right, first I tell the instructions for meditation. You watch in between eyebrows. Then sometimes answering a question or in my talk, I also alert what is it that you are watching. Eventually, what is it that you are going to realize? It is the consciousness of existence, because that is the only nearest clue through a terminology that one can understand. It is there. When you close the eyes, then you will get to see yourself. If you don't pay attention to any thoughts and visions, that's what when you are watching, you will do. You just watch, but you don't pay attention. Even through the eyes also, when you close the eyes, then also if thoughts and visions come, you don't pay attention, but you just watch. You don't pay attention to the thoughts, but you just watch. You are not paying attention to anything, but you are still watching. Then suddenly,
Baba, we're frozen. Okay, so we'll have to wait a minute for Baba. He may have to go out and come back in. Baba, can you hear us?
yeah,
Okay.
the voice properly, internet went off, maybe electricity went off, only one light is available. And then we tried the another internet with the mobile phone. So it took that much of time to enter all the IDs and come back. I think now we can go ahead.
Boy, can you pick up where you left off? Do you remember what you were saying? It was really interesting.
I think I was consciousness shifting and realizing yourself and paying attention and gaining awareness of the self. First, you pay attention. When you have to pay attention, here the tricky thing is you don't know what it is. So, where will you pay attention? For that, the master teaches just keep watching at one place. So, that is for the reason you can get rid of all thoughts and visions when you are just watching. At that time, you don't know where that I, that self is. So you are unable to pay attention. But you have been asked to just watch. So when thoughts and visions start going away, then finally this consciousness of existence, that will be there always. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't dissolve. It won't go away. That your attention goes consciousness of existence. In this process, you are likely to feel blissful and eventually peace. When it totally settles down, that's when you gain awareness here. So that is what happens. Watching, paying attention, gaining awareness. This process happens. The first master teaches that you just watch. He insists, first just watch. Before just watching, if I try to explain, students might get confused. What is this paying attention? What is this paying, watching just? watching this, gaining awareness. You go on watching, then you will be able to pay attention because line gets cleared. Everything is dissolved, all thoughts and visions. Then you are able to pay attention to that consciousness of your own existence. When you pay attention, then even you gain the awareness. This process to make it effortless and natural, or that only you have to practice long time of just watching. So that is the idea of meditation.
Mhm. Okay, Baba, that's wonderful. So, Baba, you said the real bondage is that our attention is absorbed into an altered state. And I guess you mean by that just as it's absorbed into whatever the mind's projecting, thoughts and imaginations.
Yes, these
Um,
thoughts are all absorbed by the mind because it has appeared within the mind, in the consciousness only. That means finally what you will realize, you had imagined, so those thoughts and visions were appearing within you only, and you became attentive to those thoughts and visions. So in that process, which started long, long ago, time immemorial, and you forgot yourself totally, what you are. You got absorbed so much into thoughts and visions. Only those thoughts and visions appear to be a reality of existence. You forgot that you exist not in the thoughts or visions. The thoughts and visions are only imagination. So when that is absorbed back into the mind, means when you just watch them, so these thoughts and visions dissolve within the mind. It will go back to the mind. That is from where it came into existence, and it will go back. That's what in the Vedas, those people who are familiar with the scriptures, the teachings of the sages, when this world does not take Purnamada, Purnamidam shloka is there. This world, which is also an absolute, has come out of that absolute, which is the stillness, all pervaded, the ultimate truth. And when this absolute, which is this world, is not going to be there, this would have been got absorbed in absolute, which is the final truth, which never came into existence, so which doesn't have to get absorbed into anything else, because that is the final truth.
because the final truth was always there, eternally.
Always there. It did not appear. Only that which has appeared will disappear. Only that which has come will go back.
Baba, in your commentary, you say that Ashtavakra advocates to have a firm conviction that you're not the body but pure consciousness. Is that what you're trying to give us now? In addition to the experiences you have in meditation where you actually experience yourself as the consciousness?
Yeah, exactly. So, apart from practicing meditation, when you have the privilege to sit with a self-realized master, and when the master talks to you or answers your question, then he repeatedly talks about this. This is what you are. This is what you are. You have to regain this consciousness. Then slowly the mind gets tuned into that. So this is how you see since childhood, when we read Adi Shankara's teachings, Ramana Maharishi's teachings, Ramakrishna's teachings, so our mind got tuned into that. First, the jnana, bhakti, vairagya, knowledge, devotion, and detachment. And then we are, but always wondered, if we are that soul, why is that I am not aware? But one clue in Yoga Vasishtha came. It exists. in itself. This struck my consciousness. My God, what is it that exists in itself? Because all object, entire universe, world, our body, everything seems to be existing in the space. Our earth also exists in the space. Solar system exists in the space. Sun exists in the space. Milky Ways, galaxies, all exist in the space. The space doesn't seems to be existing in anything but in itself. Though when you see the matter like an earthen part or any such hollow space, the space is inside that picture, earthen picture, but actually it is everywhere. So though we were told that the void place in between two walls is known as space, then the space is everywhere. That's how we realize space is the only thing which exists in itself. It doesn't need anything else. So space is the ultimate truth. Space is that supreme consciousness of existence. Space is that divine which sages have told that it struck. Like tune in and try to listen to the teachings or read as you practice the meditation also, then your consciousness, which is now pure consciousness, not a mind, gains the ability of understanding, gaining awareness of what you are talking.
Yeah, Baba, having the knowledge.
That's what Ashtavakra, yes, advocates.
Excuse me, Baba. Yeah, so having that knowledge, you begin to notice things that you wouldn't notice otherwise. You may be having some of those experiences, but they go unnoticed. And then as soon as you have the knowledge, this knowledge.
Exactly. You wouldn't have noticed that you are also standing in the group of people in that photograph. Only after the teacher pointed out this, you see, you are here. Then you start noticing suddenly.
So knowledge is important. I mean, this type of knowledge.
Yeah, to notice, you need to know.
That's what happened to Ashtavakra.
So first, the master prepares you to gain the ability to notice. Because otherwise, so you are playing with the toys that are in your mind. Then you won't be able to notice. No matter 100,000 times I tell that you are unable to notice. But the master prepares that you give up your attention to those thoughts and visions which are your imagination. Then if I tell the consciousness of existence is there, you will be able to notice.
Yeah, I know, Baba, for myself, since so much of these satsangs we've had with you, that I've become a lot more aware that, that's the thing. It's just happening in my mind. That's only in my mind. And you become more aware that, you're the watcher. Maybe if I hadn't meditated, I would never have noticed that.
Yeah.
So by keenly observe, it could be both. Keenly observe is just watching in meditation, but keenly observe is also this truth that these are all impermanent things arising in the mind, and that which is watching is the real truth, and you can't make that go away, you've said.
Yes, that truth of existence is always there. It won't disappear. You can make all thoughts and visions go away when you just watch. So that means here, student has to understand when you just watch, whatever will disappear and whatever was never will always remain.
Could you repeat that, Baba?
That is the clue that you can understand. when you are watching, now what you have to understand is all that you had imagined since time immemorial will disappear. That which you never imagined will always remain and will not disappear. That is how when you are just watching. Your job is to just go on watching. Then you will see whatever goes on disappearing, know that as untrue and simply an imagined thought and vision, then remains which will not go at all, no matter you go on watching. Then the consciousness would also have shifted to that as the I before the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Then this is what the I is, and this is eternal. This will not disappear. This is going to be there always. And then you lose that I consciousness also when you go to Nirvikalpa Samadhi and merge.
So, Baba, in your commentary, I'll read it. You say, keenly observe, just the mind is all pervasive, and all its objects, imagined objects and stories are inside the mind, upon which the mind is all pervasive. So, in this sense, it sounds like the mind is just pure consciousness, but this mind that's empty of all thoughts, what do you call that? The mind is there, but it's emptied of all imaginations.
When it is empty, the consciousness of existence is there. That is how you will realize the mind which appears to be simply a wide place is not actually wide, but a consciousness of existence. In the same way, you also realize whatever thoughts and visions were there, so that was all there in a truth called consciousness, inside a truth called consciousness, which we were addressing it as mind. When the thoughts and visions disappear, we won't address it as mind, but as a pure consciousness, the self, because that is from where the I is emerging. So thus you will also realize the entire universe, whatever length and breadth it is there, after galaxy, Milky Ways after Milky Ways. So it all existing in a space means that is not simply a space, that is the truth. Same truth which Einstein tried to address it as truth, because in science and spirituality, depending on the culture, the people use such terminologies. One might use the terminology as only as the truth, truth, existence, or truth, because nothing else appears in that. But Vishwamitra, who composed the Gayatri Mantra, he said, if you adopt in your mind of that remembrance, your sins and unhappiness can be washed away. He said that. That's what we have been discussing all these things. When thoughts and visions go away, you will also experience blissfulness and eventually supreme peace. That is why that truth is recognized as a divinity. It is divine in nature, which can give us happiness, peace once for all. And there is no more corruption, no more. And thought is not there, no chance of any corrupted thought coming at all. As long as there are thoughts in the mind, there is always a chance that any corrupted thought also might come in with the ego, selfish and narrow-mindedness. Things were determined by the sages, telling it is not simply a truth, it is the divinity, it is the truth of existence, which is simply all pervaded, and in that only any appearance can exist. That is the universe or Milky Way, whatever you feel. That's how the determination is, that everything exists in the divinity. But if we simply talk of divinity, so scientific people, some people might make fun of us that you are religious person, religious thinkings are all different. It is not a religious thinking. It is a discovery of the truth of existence. See, you discover an existence and then try to see what is its nature. Is it simply an existence which has no tail or no head or nothing? Or does it have some quality? It gives you supreme peace and removal of all corruptions. Nothing is there. It is the purest form, the most purest. So this is also a culture, beautiful culture known as spirituality.
Well, we're glad to
Got
be.
it?
I know, but I got a lot. um, so, Baba, in your commentary, yeah, you said you have to regain awareness of what you are. You're already free. You're content, but we're not aware of it. All right, moving on. 17, 18, 19, and 20 verses.
Yeah.
Without conditions, unchanging, beyond measure, unencumbered, serenely peaceful, unfathomably intelligent, unperturbed, settle back into that consciousness alone. Know that which has form is not real. The unmanifested formless is permanent, unchanging. By the truth of this teaching, you shall avoid rebirth. In the same way that a mirror exists within and without the image showing in it, the self exists inside and outside the physical body, independent of it. Just as the one all-pervading space permeates inside and outside of a pot as the one single space, so the eternal, unconstrained, supreme self pervades all things. So in the commentary, Baba, you say the self doesn't depend on anything for its existence, and hence there is no desire. So that desire arises from lack of fulfillment, or arises because we're looking for peace and happiness that we have when we're in the self.
You see, important is actually a desire arises in the body because the body has lot of needs. It needs for its happiness, it needs for its existence, it needs both things. One thing for its existence, it needs like food, and so thus such desires happen. I need to have food. To have that food, I need to earn some money. Then I can buy food for myself. Like this, the thoughts keep going on and on and on. We get involved into that. Desires after desire keep coming. I need a shelter. The body needs a shelter. The body needs oxygen. If oxygen is not here, then we cannot survive. So we can only stay where oxygen is available. So that is how, so far, we are unable to find oxygen in any other planet that is sufficient to keep us alive bodily. Like this, the thoughts go on and on and on when you think you are the body. But once you know you are that truth, then in the mind such desires doesn't come. But whatever the body's existence, that much needs to be given. I'm not talking that you don't have to, one must not misunderstand that there is no need to give anything to the body. So, to keep the body alive, you need to give something, whatever it needs for its survival. But it has limitations. One day it is going to go away. The day it's going to go away, let it go. Until then, we can survive. Because through this body only, I can communicate to all other bodies. Sorry, sit here as students has practiced meditation. So we'll keep it aside. But when you realize your real self, that space exists and it does not need anything for its existence, you will realize. Then mentally, when desires all subside, it doesn't go into craving. With that practice, when death body, then if the mind can keep quiet without any desires, when death happens, that is a practice, what is known as tapas, meditation, all is needed and recommended. Then we won't have any other physical body again to undergo all the troubles that we have to fulfill. We have to give this. That's what Ashtavakra bluntly has tried to tell. These are all very great teaching. Many times the present day generations may not be able to take it and they get put off. What will happen to their life on this earth? That is totally different. Nothing will happen. You live in this world. You have desires is no problem. You enjoy everything. You need anything for the body, you go on having. Simply, you can avoid having a craving, consistent craving. A desire and craving are different. When the desire goes out of control, craving happens. So that is all the teaching that's been trying to tell there.
Beautiful. Baba, in your commentary, you say, anything that has appeared with a form is unreal and impermanent. And whatever is formless, know that as permanent. When you acquire this knowledge awareness by settling effortlessly into supreme consciousness, when you lose all imaginations and desires of the mind, you avoid rebirth. Baba, what's the knowledge awareness? What do you mean by that term? When you acquire this knowledge awareness
Of the self. So when you are practicing the watching, for one time you realize this is what I am. And I am not the body. That is necessary. But all the time you don't have to be thinking. Once a self-realization happens, after that you won't be thinking, oh, I am a yogi, I am only the Atman and I am not the body. Not necessary. You are quiet. You are in that only when you are quiet. So there is no desire or craving again. But before that, to understand, one time you understand before the merger happens, or without understanding also, if you merge with the self, that's fine. Just like you want to gain knowledge awareness. So if when I sleep, I will lose consciousness of the surroundings. That is also okay. Or you just go into sleep and lose consciousness of the surroundings also is okay.
Yeah,
so that's what knowledge of awareness.
So
then you see, if you have the knowledge of awareness, you can teach others. You can create an awareness. You can answer the questions about your own experience to others in the right way. You can become a skilled teacher. Otherwise, You are only a self-realized soul and you may not be able to teach others.
That makes sense. Yeah,
This
you
is my opinion.
often we have experiences, but we can't really explain much about them. But to be a teacher, you have to have that knowledge awareness where you can actually explain what's happened. Nice.
Yes. Okay, Baba, I'm always questioning time. It seems that when I'm sleeping, there's no time. When I get into a space in my head, there's no time. Does time only exist on in the physical?
You see, the time we imagine between an appearance and a disappearance. If there is neither appearance nor disappearance, there is no time. Like the time is important in this world. We send a link and tell the starting time is this and request that all of you be there present 10 minutes before that. When Babaji joins, he will start conducting the meeting. Then the time becomes important. So we imagine that there is a time and there is need of a time. And if there is no need, so there is no time. So it is both ways important in this world. When you become one with the ultimate truth, you transcend the time.
My question is like Ashtavakra instructed King Janak to be quiet, and he physically stopped in the act of mounting the horse, and his mind became quiet. So he went into samadhi at that and that time, there and then he went into samadhi, or he started meditating.
Yeah. Yes. He stopped mentally also when the Guru commanded to stop. Not only he stopped physically, mentally also he stopped. Then he went to samadhi.
Okay, Baba. So that means it is possible to be go into samadhi very quickly also.
It is possible when you practice long time. Don't try to sit on the horseback and try it just now. You have to practice long time meditation. Then you can try to sit in the car, in the steering, and then you if I tell stop, you will stop. Okay, my blessings. Take care.
Yeah, Pranam Guruji. My question is like even
Yes.
though having so much of theoretical knowledge about consciousness, but the moment when I went to the actional world and when I am encountering the actional situations, I'm forgetting the true nature of myself and get carried away by the actional surroundings. So what should I do to improve my actually consciousness?
That's why practice of meditation is necessary. Like when you all go to universities, you go to theory class and go to practical classes also. Sometimes if necessary in the laboratory or any such thing. So reading or listening to us, listening to the Q&A will help you to gain the theoretical knowledge of what you are. Along with that, you have to practice meditation also. Then it will stay there for longer time, forever. When you are active in the world also, you will not forget. Just like if you are Murali, when you are in the office also busy, you will not forget that you are Murali. In the same way, when you practice meditation, you can be active in the world, talking, thinking if necessary, but at all times, mind comes and stops and regains always that it remembers that what it is. So you need to practice. Bless you. A blessing.
So a consciousness needs no desires. But it seems like in life, desires are required in order to, even to be drawn to Baba, to be drawn to the idea of liberation requires our desire to be drawn to that. So my question is, it seems to me that it's desire is not the problem, but rather our attachment to what we desire can become the problem. Is that true?
Yeah. I have also told, listen to me, I have always told, having a desire itself is not a problem. The problem is when you lose control over the desire and go into a craving. That's what is the problem. So you have a desire, but you will do it for the need. You will not become greedy. That is all what you need. Then it's fine. You will not be troubled ever. Got
Okay,
it?
so don't worry about the desires. Just don't be attached to them and don't get greedy with them. And let the outcome be the will of the guru.
Yeah. Accept the outcome, whatever it is.
Namaskar, Babaji. So, thank you and thanks, Agastya, for reading out the commentaries. In one of the commentaries, I think it went by, know that the form to be unreal and formless to be permanent. So here I wanted to ask about the word no, right? Is it no after we, so this statement, do we, when it has the word no in it, does it mean that we read and then intellectually understand that, or that no comes after experiencing in the meditation? What does the word no means here?
You see, after experiencing in the meditation only, that will come permanently to your consciousness. That knowing will happen actually. When the master teaches, he casually tells you, know that this is the truth. But master also teaches, to know this truth, you have to consistently practice. Always there. Then permanently it will come to you. Finally, you have to practice. That's what we are trying to tell. A theory class and a practical class, both are necessary in my opinion. So just like you attend to these classes, you listen to question and answers or my talks, and then you have to attend to the practice of meditation also. So we try to hold both classes, practical classes of meditation and the theoretical classes of Q&A. So then you will have that permanent awareness.
Baba, there's a couple questions in the chat. I can read a couple of them.
Okay.
One person says,
I'll...
even when a person is just busy in daily life and not following any spiritual practice, then why does he get strong spiritual thoughts randomly and repeatedly that almost makes him feel like he should go into isolation, depressed, tears, feeling of knowing nothing, and forcing him to think about finding the ultimate truth and purpose of life? And then these thoughts just go away in some days, but after some time they come back. So I guess he's wondering why.
So this is probably due to you are bringing in your consciousness some efforts that you had done in your previous lives. That's what, even when death happens, when you are practicing, say, meditation, for anybody, if death happens for some reason, but the consciousness mind will carry the symptoms, tendencies to the next life also. So though you are not practicing and in your mentally, you are thinking that you are not spiritual, you might be carrying those spiritual vasanas, what are known as tendencies. That's why these things are coming to you strongly. So you wait and see. When it overwhelms you, it will make you to jump into it and practice spirituality. Then you will know the truth. As it grows and grows, that you intensifies the truth that you want to know, then you practice, then you will know the truth. May you be blessed.
And another person asks, what is the difference between space, emptiness, and the divine? Space, emptiness, and the divine. What's the difference?
Space, emptiness, both are imagined terminologies. Because in comparison to the matter, we recognize it as emptiness. We try to think that the matter is complete or the full. It is not emptiness. The divine is supreme consciousness of existence. Though in the form of space, it is not just space or emptiness, but it is absolute. That is how you see zero, and zero is absolute. Absolute is zero. It appears to be zero, but it has no beginning and no end. That's why it is absolute. Here also it appears to be empty and it appears to be space, void space, but it is not simply void or empty. It is supremely conscious of its own existence. This you can experience in deeper samadhi state.
Baba, I just have a follow-up question about what you mentioned about the Gayatri and maybe what you just said. You said the main reason of the Gayatri is to adopt what's the main reason of the Gayatri and memorize it. And you were saying something about that everything exists in divinity and yet it doesn't exist. Is that what you were just saying to that last question? Is that what you're trying us to know in the Gayatri?
No, you see, one of the basic meaning is first recognizing that it is simply pervaded, like it is on this earth, in all the worlds above, below the world, and that they addressed in old and ancient times, first terminology used was tattva. Tattva meaning that was such an awesome existence. They kept quiet because they did not use any other terminology. They knew any use of terminology will be simply an imagination and limiting. It is boundless. It is beyond all limitations. That's why they called it tattva. That tattva, they tried to tell Savitur Varenyam, equivalent to sun, means it is not simply an inert or empty or a space. It is as powerful as the sun. That's powerful. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahim. It can give us supreme peace and remove all corruptions of the mind or all unhappiness, sins of the mind. Sins means corruptions of the mind. It can remove. Third line, Diyo Yona Prachodya. We pray to that truth to inspire our wisdom, to put an effort to achieve that. That is the basic meaning. That is why it is recognized as divine. Because if we meditate on that, when we are just watching, actually we are trying to meditate on that truth only. Trying to remove all thoughts and visions when silencing the mind. Then you are meditating on that. For that, you pray to inspire your wisdom.